www.geniuscorner.com.
Greetings, I'm Erik Garcés and welcome to WTPN. Today's topics are how Barack Obama has seemingly been abandoned by the elites and comparing Jewish activities in banking to the Italian mafia. It's a lot to talk about. Let's get started. We're witnessing something rare in the American political discourse. With the understanding that money power controls both sides of the false left-right spectrum, hasn't made any real difference who sits at the head of the table in decades. Oh, sure, there are stark differences in the two parties, and each president has made changes to his own liking. However, as we're all kept distracted with arguments over issues that the elite don't really care about and ultimately have never affected the course of our nation, the very real topics we should be discussing have been ignored. So much so that in some cases discussing these facts has you painted as a conspiracy theorist. My analysis is that there's either a schism among the elites themselves or money power has expressed its collective will, that Barack Obama must go. My money is on the latter. Now, why would I say this? Please know that I am not, and let me repeat this because the trolls will ignore it anyway to make their foolish political points. I am not advocating or opposing any political candidate. I'll say it again. I am not advocating for or opposing any political candidate. This is merely an analysis. I'm basing my opinion here on three separate indicators. We know that the mind control media is operated completely at the behest of money power. A mere 5 corporations control nearly all the radio, TV, print, and most of the internet service providers. Using that core principle that all government is by consent of the governed, it's easy to arrive at the conclusion that anything you see, read, or hear in the mind control media is about generating that consent. Therefore, nothing happens in a bubble. Indeed, Franklin Roosevelt actually said it. If something happens in politics, it's no accident. You can be sure it was planned to happen that way. The massive popularity and financial success of the Dinesh D'Souza political documentary film 2016, Obama's America, it could not have happened without the tacit approval of money power. Hollywood is completely dominated by the pro-Obama crowd, and despite their opposition and the deliberate obstacles involved in its distribution, this film is now the #2 grossing documentary of all time, behind Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11. The August 27th edition of Newsweek magazine, about as establishment media as it gets, it showcases on their front page the president in a departing pose with the caption, "Hit the road, Barack. Why we need a new president." There is no possible way this could have ever been allowed if money power was pushing for this man's re-election. One could presume a limited hangout, perhaps. That's an operation designed to deal with unflattering news or information by a minimal acknowledgement. However, with the polls this close, I doubt it. And then 3, it's the incredible rise in the price of gasoline. This is something that all of us can acknowledge because it affects pretty much everybody who's an adult. It's well known in the alternative media and in contrarian economics that money power rigs the marketplace for commodities. Using computerized trading, futures can be bought or sold millions of times a second. This is seen by the elite as necessary since the US dollar is a fiat currency. It's essentially backed by the deal that Henry Kissinger made with the Saudis. We protect them. They only sell oil in dollars, exclusive of any other currency. This, among several other methods, is what maintains the value of the paper dollar precisely where money power wants it at any given time. There's also a body of evidence conclusive to many that the precious metals markets are also manipulated. In fact, the evidence is so overwhelming that silver is manipulated that there are thousands of investors grabbing up as much as they can in preparation for a skyrocketing price explosion. Maybe you've noticed all those "We buy gold and silver" signs propping up all over the place lately. If the elites really wanted Barack Obama around for a second term, we'd be enjoying comfortable prices in gasoline. That we're not is either testament that money power has lost control of the markets due to the incredible sums of cash they've printed, or, as I suspect, the elites are about done with Barack Obama. Now, despite there being little real difference between these two candidates, they're really both hand-picked tools of the elite. My hunch is that they feel the election of a Republican will slow an amazing rate of awakening to reality which has swept America. Similar to the way that so many restive anti-federal government types calmed down after the election of George W. Bush in the wake of Bill Clinton's ATF and FBI excesses during the 90s. In any event, the die is cast. No matter who wins the presidency come January, the mathematically unavoidable end of the paper dollar is near. Desperate attempts by the elite to hold on to that control, it'll just mean more war, more police state, and infinitely more suffering by we the people, regardless of which puppet the elites manage to slip into place come election day. But hold that thought. I want you to take a look at our message from WTPN's Building Bridges. We'll be right back.
Building Bridges, English language news and discussions from the Islamic world, a collaborative effort of Turkish TV A9 from Istanbul and WTPN, unfiltered by corporate media, available online at WTPnetwork.com.
Welcome back. Essentially confirming my analysis that the elite have abandoned Obama is Steve Pieczenik. Steve Pieczenik is the author of numerous books. He's a co-author of many of Tom Clancy's books. He is a medical doctor. He's a psychiatrist. He's been involved with foreign affairs for many years now. He's involved with psychological warfare and analysis. He was an advisor to Presidents Carter and Reagan. He's nonpartisan. The man's plugged into the State Department. He has a seat on the Council on Foreign Relations. All right. This guy on Alex Jones essentially confirmed my analysis when he said this.
Clearly the media is trying to deep six Obama. What's behind this geopolitically?
What's behind this geopolitically is the extension of what you were brave enough and your audience was brave enough to understand. This is all an extension of the 9/11 disinformation and false flag episode. It continued into the issue of the CIA and the confrontation between the CIA and our military and the President of the United States, continuing on the covert activities and trying to reposition themselves in the Middle East while the military under General Petraeus and under other generals are trying to pull us out of the Middle East.
Not that it means anything, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, but it feels good to know that there are other people who see this, other people who are much more intelligent and much more plugged into what's going on than I am and see what I see. So that makes me feel better about things. All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk about criminal behavior by the Israeli government, criminal behavior by Jewish people who are in banking. Just because there are people who are Jewish and are criminals does not mean that we get to indict an entire group of people. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I know plenty of Jewish people who are wonderful people. I have Jewish friends to this day that treat me as a member of their family. And I'm really offended because just because someone is Jewish doesn't make them a criminal. And just because someone is a criminal and is Jewish doesn't mean everybody who's Jewish therefore must be a criminal. But for some reason in America, we've got this idea that it's okay to be a bigot and tar all these people. I mean, the Gaudis are Italian. Do we call all Italians mafioso? Of course not. So just because the Rothschilds are criminal bankers doesn't mean that all Jews are wealthy criminal bankers and associates of the Rothschilds. And just because the Israelis have committed terrible injustices against the Palestinian people doesn't mean that all Jews share those views. Then we have to separate the mafia from the Italians, and we also have to separate Zionists and criminal bankers from Jewish people. All right? If we're going to move ahead in the world, we have to recognize that the idea that all Jews are guilty of crimes is one pushed forward by the elite so that this way they can use the tool of the phrase antisemitism, which really means shut up. Anyway, that's my editorial for this one. Thanks for joining me on WTPN, and I hope to see you again real soon.